there, Mr. Mechanic Guy. I got some bad timing chains. How long can I drive it? It just started yesterday.
About that long.
It can't be that bad.
How loud was your radio?
Will it be done today?
Probably not going to be done today. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. So today I got this Equinox here that I just purchased and was running. I should have showed, well I did show a video of that. Alright, right on to me. But anyway, barely, and you saw the negligence that went into it. There was a hole in the valve cover, so now we're just gonna, I got pulled apart and I'm just gonna go over what I come up with that. If anybody's curious what the extent of that damage was, and kind of show you what's happening here. And so I got the valve cover off, and also I've got the lower timing cover off there. Well, there's only one timing cover on the 2.4, but anyways, so but you can see right there that this top guide, that's got sawed right off, clean. So anyway, went ahead and got valve cover pulled off, and looking at it here, don't see any real hard damage besides that, and obviously, you know, the timing chain and stuff. And I'll show you the other guide here also blew apart on it, which is the more common failure too here on the 2.4s. So, but these are an extremely easy timing chain to do, as far as, I guess, as far as timing chains go. If you got your own vehicle with timing issues, then go ahead and probably just give this a shot. You know, if you got a decent set of hand tools or something, it's not that outrageous to do. So a valve cover pops off, and you can get that right there. And then from the side, then you also get the timing cover off, and you can do the timing. If you got any damaged components in there, you're also going to want to pull the oil pan and check that out and see what you have in there for debris. If you're trying to make this something that's going to run and go back together, that's going to be, you know, right, or as right as you can have it, you want to make sure that there's no debris down in there. So a lot of these 2.4s got a big issue with oil consumption, and people just run them out of oil because they don't realize that they're low on oil. And then usually the timing chain is the weak link in these. A lot of times the earlier years of these Equinoxes were the worst, like the 2010s, 2011s. And then as they went further along, they seem that it's fewer and far between that they're having issues. But they do also have, with that oil consumption, you know, a lot of blow-by issues and things like that. They get a lot of moisture up into the PCV system and the crankcase ventilation and all of that. And you'll actually just pour water out of these early 2.4s out of the intake here when you pull these off, right out of that little spout, or if you're holding it just right, you can get it out of the intake duct there, and there'll just be water that pours out of that right there. I already emptied it a little bit earlier, so it's not that significant. So that's really not that big of a deal unless you're in climates where it freezes, and in which case you also will have issues potentially blowing out your rear main seal on one of these, because that freezes. That vent hose that comes into the side of the intake from the valve cover will freeze, and then from there the crankcase can't vent, and you will blow the rear main seal most of the time is what's going to happen there. So yeah, sadly just some junk engines for some really nice cars otherwise. But so like I say, I got it apart here, all that stuff, and we'll go over kind of what's happening here. So this is the guide right here that's going to go down the side of the front of the engine there, the one that blew apart initially. And so anyways, that's that piece, and fish that out of the oil pan. There's another piece of it, and then this is the chunk that got sawed off, the metal part there, that top tensioner. in the oil pickup here, we've got the other piece at the top, or a chunk of the piece of the top there. This is the top guide that was sawed off. This is where that come from. That little guy there. And a whole bunch of other little cruddies down in there too. Oh, it's like a piñata. So, yeah, there's that, and the infamous timing chain rub there. So we're gonna have to get a new valve cover on it too, should it run when we're all said and done here. And then also got the timing cover, which I didn't see any actual damage or anything crazy there, but so that's gonna go back on. And basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put a timing chain kit on it and fish all that crap out of the oil pan and clean everything up and put it back together and see if it's gonna be all right or not. The other thing too, if you got anything happening with this where you had parts come apart in this motor, you also want to check these solenoids here. These guys. So, but yeah, what's happening with these, and right there, if you can see it, there's a whole bunch of crud on that solenoid for the intake variable valve timing. And so I'm going to have to go ahead and clean all that up, get all this junk out of here. Yeah, more crud on there. So I'll get those cleaned up, everything cleaned up. And let me go get this up in the air, and I'll show you what's happening from the side here too, so that way this makes a little more sense. Let's see, yeah. See how beautiful. So this bolt right here is what holds the lower portion of that black guide that was broken in pieces. So this bolt's actually supposed to hold that. And so what happens a lot of times when these things get so much slack in them is that they'll start wailing away on that guide and they'll break around these bolts. So there's one here and there's one up top too. And Dorman actually makes a replacement for that top bolt because it's known for breaking right off in the cylinder head. And Dorman has a replacement that works pretty decent to actually take care of that issue too. But at any rate, so that's what's happening here. That chain is rubbing right on that bolt. It's actually ate a little bit of it off here. So, but so, again, super common on these, and you know, it's unfortunate, like I said, really, because they all pretty much seem to have this problem. But it just is what it is, and life goes on, I suppose. But we'll try and make a runner out of it. And Humpty Dumpty back together here. Got a timing chain on there. I had a used kit upstairs that I threw on it from an older one I took off that was actually in really good shape. We just did it as some preventative maintenance. So I had some spare parts to make sure that this thing was going to run all right. And then just got back from the salvage yard. So here's the old valve cover again. And there's where the timing chain was eating away at her. And then now I got this nice used valve cover. It's got the correct patina to do with what I need to do. So we'll get that on here and fire it. Alright, all together. Who thinks it's gonna run? Whoa! That is very pleasantly surprising. Well, hell yeah. Let's go ahead and get her out of here and go for a rip. Here we're rocking and rolling. What do you think, Rado? $900 Equinox used timing set. I think we're gonna end up with a pretty nice vehicle here. So, but check engine lights on. Do have a bad O2 heater, so I'm gonna get that replaced. But otherwise seems all right. Let me get her out on an open stretch and we'll, you know, make sure she's getting it. Here we're gonna get her from a rip roaring standstill. Heck yeah. Good as any Equinox I've ever driven, of the 4-cylinder variety. Woof.